Felix here, and there are 5 things every smart investor must know this week to make sure this doesn't turn into an absolute freaking disaster. What are those 5 things? I'm going to walk you through them, but before I do, I want you to do one thing for yourself. Invest in yourself in terms of time. Give 90 minutes of your time to actually understand the market. Let an old investment banker walk you through the 3-step system that he uses that almost 10,000 beginners have now learned from me and my team on Tuesday evening live at felixschwenzer.org/webinar. Just sign up for a seat. It's free. Join me, learn. I'll also teach you how to insure your stock portfolio, which means if the market implodes, you're actually making money in that moment, which is glorious. So felixschwenzer.org/webinar. But what are the things happening this week? Well, Tuesday, Tesla earnings. Now, Tesla earnings are expected to be a bit of a dud. Why? Because falling delivery numbers. We have a bunch of issues in this quarter, everything ranging from Chinese New Year to Red Sea problems to Giga Berlin being shut down, to all sorts of things, which will all impact. Plus, we're seeing a bit of a demand slowdown in EVs generally, which is obviously very troubling for me here on this particularly tropical beach. So don't expect fireworks from that. The only thing you can hope for is a bit of clarity on what's happening on the 8th of August, which is when they are going to announce their robo-taxi. And any idea on timeline on that, my view would be 3 to 5 years plus at a minimum, could be longer. And of course, also anything on just energy, power, robots, that kind of thing. I think that's really what all of this is going to be about. And also, how much more money are they going to save by sacking more people? Because they're probably going to do some more of that. And the market could like that if it comes in a bit harsher. So that's the point number 1. Point number 2 then is Meta and Microsoft earnings. And I have quite high hopes for these. And the reason this really matters this week is because we'll get 40% of the S&P reporting this week in terms of value. And this could offset the current downtrend, the drop in confidence in AI and everything else. Microsoft, likely the first real big juicy winner from AI. We're pretty much expecting bumper earnings anyway, but if AI Copilot subscriptions uptake is somewhat higher than perhaps expected, that would be glorious, almost as glorious as the beach behind me and the sunset about to hit. So that's what we're hoping for. We've got fairly high expectations for Microsoft, which of course also means if they don't, you're going to be really in trouble. But I think Microsoft will do well. Now, who I think will do even better this week, and for me, that's the real one to watch out for, is Meta. And Meta is an advertising business, right? People always get caught up in the bots and the platforms and the politics and all the stuff that doesn't matter. All that matters to Meta is how many advertising dollars are spent on Meta. And my view is it's going to be a lot, to be scientific. And the forward quarter, the next quarter, should be great. Why? US presidential elections. In that kind of popularity contest you got going on there, people will spend an absolute fortune on advertising, right? It costs over $1 billion to run a presidential campaign nowadays, and a lot of that will go to Meta. So they are a real beneficiary of the US elections. The Olympics also coming up. That will also be a lot of advertising revenue again for Meta. So these big events do actually matter, and they do actually matter even. And I think they'll do very well with that. So I think those 2 are the ones that I think will change the trajectory. So Tesla, I'm not feeling particularly excited for, but Meta and Microsoft, I think, are the ones that could turn us around. Now, the other items we're getting out this week are PCE inflation. That is the Fed's favorite inflation metric, and therefore it matters. And it's often doesn't hit the headlines as much because everyone looks at consumer price index, CPI. Why? Because magazines and websites, they want views, right? They want clicks. They want to sell newspapers. Do people still buy newspapers? Apparently. And therefore, they're going to talk about what affects the consumer. But the Fed doesn't really care about the consumer. They never have. They only pretend to. They actually only care about their PCE numbers. So higher inflation, bad for stocks. Lower inflation, the party keeps going. And then you're also going to get GDP number out, so the actual economic growth. And the real question there is, do you want that to be high or low? If it's high, the Fed can't cut rates. If it's low, the Fed will cut rates, but your consumer discretionary stocks, so the stuff that you like to spend money on, but you don't have to spend money on, that will suffer because it will show that the economy is slowing. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword there that will cut you probably either way. But if you master those events and you understand them and maybe take some risk off before them or potentially hedge your exposure to them if you know how to do that. And if you don't, that's completely normal because you haven't been taught it. Come and join me on Tuesday evening, 8 p.m. Put it in your diary, go to felixfriends.org/webinar, sign up, and then you also can enjoy the gloriousness that's this little place here. My flight got cancelled today, lots of rain here, so I checked into this little hotel here instead, which is actually rather glorious, and there's a lovely little beach here, and I don't know how you can see that against the sunset over there, but yeah, it looks, you can't really, can you? There's a nice long beach over there, and I'm just going to enjoy an extra day on the island, which isn't so bad, is it? So life could be a lot worse. And that's really the freedom we should all have. It's just like, who cares? Flights are cancelled. Does it matter? No. Just ask a travel agent to rearrange a few hotels and we're good. And look, there is even a hammock there and kayaks. I'm rather tempted to go out and have a look at some sea creatures. I wish you a glorious start to the week. I'll keep you up to date on how these super important earnings are panning out. And if you enjoy the video, share it with somebody. Thanks for watching. Felix here, and we've just had another dramatic airstrike on a huge airbase in Iraq. And that airbase is home to an Iranian-backed militia. Now, who conducts airstrikes in Iraq, you might wonder? Is it the US?